This is a very personal video for me to make because the other day we decided to pay off our mortgage. I'll flash it on the screen right now. As you can see, the home that I'm living in the mortgage that we had, 30-year mortgage, we paid off 20 years early. Now, I gotta say, I have some mixed feelings about it because I've had a couple days to sort of let it sink in. And I wanted to share with you the why and a little bit of the how. So please stick around. You're not gonna wanna miss this. So you heard right. We paid off our mortgage, and I think that doing something like that, in my opinion, is an extremely personal decision. Also, I feel very blessed to be in a place where we could afford to take money that we made week after week, paycheck after paycheck, and put it towards paying off debt. I mean, currently, right now, besides for my one rental property, we do not owe anyone anything. And that's really exciting to say. So I'm going to dive into a little bit about how I grew up, the houses, why I decided to pay off this one. So please, real quick, join our private Discord group. I'd love to keep the conversation going there, and drop a like for this video. All right, I can already predict some of the comments are going to be like, hey, don't pay off your mortgage, take the difference and invest it. But there's a personal side, like an emotional side, and to personal finance. And don't get me wrong, I'm going to get into what we invest in as well. But you're talking to a guy who's made over 100 YouTube videos trying to help other people learn these money lessons, the money lessons that you never learned in school. And for a lot of people out there, owning a home is a bit of a pipe dream. They're just going to basically rent forever. And you know, as you can kind of see in the background here, we've got a family we're talking about, a little dog, couple of kids, a wife. And the way that I grew up is what caused me today to be able to be sitting here paying off a house. So let's dive into a little bit of that story. I'll flash it on the screen right now. This house that you're looking at was the house I remember growing up in until my parents were actually able to afford their first home. This house we rented. And we had a family of 6 living there. And if you're wondering, okay, well, you know, it might look a little small or a little dingy, but we're talking 3 bedrooms, 1 bath, and just over 1,000 square feet for that family of 6. You know, mom, dad, and 4 kids. And when they rented, I remember money being a concern. Things like paying the rent with 4 kids in the house, you know, eating the groceries too fast, and basically just making ends meet. So I know there are going to be people out there who go, why even worry about buying a house? You know, just rent. But you can do some mental math for yourself. A house like this is going for, the estimate is $137,000 and some change. Now, this is in upstate New York. This neighborhood's decent. It's like just on the outskirts of the city, you know, maybe the first layer of suburbs. So if you're trying to have that should you rent or should you buy debate, we can do a little mental math here. If your monthly rent is right around $2,200-$2,300, after 5 years, that rent could pay for a house like this. So my family, my parents made a decision to buy a home, and the first home that they ever bought was this home here. Now, funny enough, my memory of this was moving in the winter. Here again, winters mean snow. Nobody's really going outside. It gets dark early. And I got to tell you, this added a lot of character to me and my siblings. I have 2 brothers, 2 sisters. That's right, we added another child in this home. So now you have a family of 7. But this was a very culturally diverse neighborhood. By no means would you consider this the suburbs. We actually had this odd busing program where I would walk to the corner and hop on a bus and ride into the inner city and then take a bus another, say, half hour, 40 minutes home each and every day, basically to go to this public school, not the neighborhood school, because they had this busing program where they would ship people to sort of mix up where people went to school, so it wasn't just based on where you lived. Now anyway, let's stay focused on the house itself. This house is 1,185 square feet. It was, probably still is, it was 3 bedrooms, 1 bath. I do remember it having a basement, so when I started to get old enough to like go hang out in the basement or like, you know, plug like an old TV in down there, I do remember like a weight set and hanging out in the corner. But I'm going to point something out here. There's no Zestimate. In fact, if you look at the 2016, that was the latest tax assessment. This is not a good neighborhood. And I remember I've got stories of getting my bike stolen, you know, getting in fights, getting hurt. And the reason I think there's no Zestimate is there's not enough sales in this neighborhood on this street to actually do one. There's not a lot of people moving in and out of this neighborhood. And so I think my parents, rightfully so, set a goal to fix this place up the best they could, sell it, and move to a better neighborhood. And having an experience like this adds a lot of character. And obviously I value my time there and my experiences there. But I always used to ride my bike to this next neighborhood over. And there was a playground. We'd play basketball. And then everybody would ride their bikes home probably 5-10 minutes. And I'd ride my bike home, 20-25 minutes as fast as I could so that, nobody would stop me or, again, try to steal my bike. So take a look here. This is the house they ended up buying. And I got to tell you, at the time, this was like the creme de la creme. We were living large. It was a 3-bedroom. 1.5, it says 2, but it's just 1.5 bath. But the basement was sort of half finished. The washer and dryer were down there, but there was this half finished room. It ended up being my bedroom by the time I turned 13 or 14. Got so sick of sharing a room with those 2 other boys. But we're talking just under 1,800 square feet, fenced in backyard. And I could walk to school. Walking to school was like a 7-8 minute walk. Now, for those of you who do walk to school or remember those days of riding your bike to school, it's a blessing and a curse. I mentioned how the winters can be cold. No bus is picking you up, and mom and dad aren't driving you to school in the middle of the winter. So if somebody didn't shovel, or if snow blow or whatever, you're still walking that 7-8 minutes, in freezing conditions. But it is what it is, and I have a really fond memory of living in this neighborhood. And after 2008, 2009, something started to happen where the housing market, as many of you know, kind of crashed and then started to recover. And now the houses in this neighborhood are going for more than double what people bought them. Full disclosure, I think my parents paid just over $100,000 for this house. Again, when I was an early teen. And now it's probably worth, they could probably honestly get close to $300,000 for it. It's a very nice house in a very good neighborhood, good school district and all. But as you can see, knowing that I literally left this house to go to college, to then buy my own house, I kind of valued home ownership because of the story that I just told you. So after I graduated from college and I got my first teaching job, I started to save up just a little bit of money while I was going to grad school and finishing my master's degree. And I was lucky enough to get a teaching job right here back in my hometown. And I decided to buy a house, and I did something a little bit different. I bought this house that you can see right here, and it's actually a duplex. It's a upstairs, downstairs apartment. It is, I'll flash it on the screen right now, just under 2,000 square feet. There's 4 bedrooms, 2 baths. Now again, this isn't like my forever home. I was living downstairs, and at the time one of my brothers moved in with me. And the owner who sold it to me, his daughter and her boyfriend at the time, they lived upstairs. So she paid me rent while I lived downstairs and paid the mortgage. Now, I mentioned the housing market crashing in 2008, and I bought this house in November of 2007. So I bought it right at the height, right before everything crashed. And all the houses in the neighborhood, everyone probably bought them for 80, $80,000, and at the time I was looking for a house, everything was going for like $125,000. Now again, this was back in 2007, but I was able to get this house for $125,000, and as you can see here, it is going for probably just about double. I get those little like flyers in my mail all the time. Are you interested in selling? I think the original owner, we made an agreement where his daughter would pay something like $575 rent. Now currently the rent for this apartment is just over like $1,200-$1,300 depending on each unit. Some of the pictures you see here are actually they're not the actual pictures anymore. I've updated things like the kitchen, granite countertops. It's a very nice place, and I still owe a little bit of money on it, about $15,000. But at the time of this recording, I'll have this paid off in the next 5 months. Now I mentioned I'm getting a little personal, so let's come full circle and show you the place we paid off. And this picture might surprise you. I know when you watch some of these other like finance YouTubers, they're in these like $1 million homes and doing these house tours. But this was the house that my wife and I bought together about a year before we got married. The property I just showed you, the rental property, I bought in my name, and she put in an offer for this house in her name, and she got it. We paid $140,000 for this house. It is just over 1,200 square feet. But the one thing I'll say is that there's no basement, there's no attic. So the 3 bedrooms, 1.5 baths, it's a beautiful home for a couple, or maybe like a retired couple with no kids. But when you start adding kids and COVID and work from home and I start this YouTube channel, it can get pretty crowded pretty quickly. You know, I'm currently in the garage right now. It's attached on the other side of this wall right here. You know, the kids are in bed. My wife's in the kitchen cooking. And we own this thing free and clear. And it's a pretty good buy, you know, for my wife. As you can see here, she could probably sell it and easily bank an extra $100,000 more than what she originally got it for. Again, this was 10 years ago in the upstate New York market. So anybody who's watching this from the West Coast, I mean, we're in two different worlds here. I think I would find it crazy to look at the prices of some of the homes that are like this in you know, Southern California, but the people who live there, they know that anyway. And the people who live, you know, in the Rust Belt, we're talking Ohio, you know, Buffalo, even anywhere outside of like New York, you can probably still find some places, but it's a hot market right now. So, you know, things are going for, you know, well above the asking price. So a couple of key takeaways on why we actually decided to pay this off. I inferred and I kind of told you indirectly, but there is a sense of security that you can't buy or even attain when you're renting something. Right now, we still have to pay the taxes and the insurance, that escrow that is sort of built in, rolled into your mortgage payment. I now have to set up a separate account for that. But we will happily move when we need more space. If we have another baby, or if, let's say, we just decide that we need like more storage, or the boys start to get a little bit bigger. But anyway, I also have more opportunities now that this house is completely paid off. For example, I could get a home equity line of credit. We probably wouldn't refinance because we don't plan on staying long term, but we could start looking for some land to build our dream home. And when and if we move into that dream home, I know that it might be in the $500,000 to $600,000 range, just knowing how things are in this market. And knowing that this house completely paid off for, will probably go for more than $250,000. We're probably looking at, if we ever need to get another mortgage, at least having half of this equity go towards the purchase of that house. But I also mentioned that rental property. In all reality, I would probably pull most of that money out, keep the rental property, put some towards the dream house, and then probably buy a couple more rental properties and let the tenants pay that off. It's all in good time. There's a lot of balls in the air, but I do want to also, and if you stuck around this long, I do want to address the, hey, you should just invest the interest. Now, I don't show this number to brag by any means, but we're already investing the maximum you're allowed to for things like retirement or Roth IRAs, 401ks, the kids' college fund. So to those people that say like, well, you should just invest the difference, I don't think that way. I think about paying myself first, investing, then paying down debt. So I was already investing. And in fact, in my previous video right before this, I did a little investing experiment. I'll leave a link to it up here for index funds versus crypto. So we're all set when it comes to investing, and I'm going to continue to invest, but I'm also going to pay down debt aggressively just to free up that monthly cash flow, have our vacation sinking funds, our car sinking funds. I have my businesses, my YouTube, my real estate. There's a lot of things going on. So anyway, I really would appreciate it if you leave me a comment down below. Ask me a question. Tell me what you think. Did I make a mistake? Would you have done the same thing? But listen, please, if you're new to the channel, also don't forget to hit subscribe and ring that notification bell. All right, as always, I'm Rich, and until next time.